Hello, I'm Selassie and welcome to the Cartels video raid guides. Today we're back in Blackwing Descent and we'll be looking at the heroic Maloriak encounter. I'm going to assume that you've done the fight on normal and you understand his abilities, so I'm primarily going to be going over the changes that are made in hard mode. Now essentially in hard mode the big change is that we're going to have a dark vile phase. We're going to have an extra phase on top of the blue, green and red, and this one's a black phase. Now the major thing in the black phase is that he's going to drop vile swillads. Well, he's going to drop these little black puddles on the floor, and from that the vile swillads are going to form. Your off tank that's kiting the aberrations needs to be the one that picks up the vile swillads, and it's important that we allow the tank to get aggro. How we manage this is I would misdirect the ads initially to the off tank with a multi-shot to give him as much aggro as possible. The rest of the DPS would hold off for a couple of seconds until the off tank communicated that he's got the aggro, and then everyone needs to burn them down. They are quite beefy with regards to HP, so it's going to be tight to get all the ads down before the next phase starts, and it's pretty much essential that you clean up each phase before you start the next phase. The only real difficult thing apart from this, if you're not an off tank, is moving away from the dark sludge, which isn't difficult at all really. It will give a mild amount of damage at first, but it will stack, so you've got time to move out of it. But if you sat there sitting in the dark sludge, you are going to die and people in your raid are going to call you out. You're going to look silly and you really want to avoid that, so just keep moving, so on and so forth. We're obviously watching this from a hunter point of view. I'm a survival hunter and I've deliberately specced into entrapment for some of the encounters in heroic BWD, i.e. Maloriak, Magmor, anything where there's someone kiting and they're going to need assistance, or if I'm kiting, the extra snake trap which shackles your ads for 4 seconds when you spectre into entrapment is going to be vital, along with the ice trap. So as you'll see throughout the video, I'm going to assist the off tank as much as possible. He's my best friend in this encounter. As we move into the red phase, on normal most guilds would normally group up directly in front of the boss where the light well is in the animation. We choose to stack on the side here, primarily to give the off tank enough clear space as possible to be kiting the aberrations around, and obviously I'm going to assist him as much as possible with the traps. Now you need to make sure that you have 3 sets or 9 aberrations out each rotation. This is exactly the same as normal, so there's no big surprise there, but it is important that you assign your aberration interrupter on vent before, and that you don't have other people interrupting aberration casts that you don't want to get off, and that you have a good interrupter assigned to Arcane Storm. You don't want Arcane Storm getting off. With it being heroic, his health's buffed, his damage is buffed, and it does an absolute ton of raid-wide damage, so it's so important that each one of those casts are interrupted. Okay, so we've got through the red phase there, and we're moving into the blue phase. Now the only real thing with the blue phase is that you need to heal the person up in the ice tomb to 100% before DPSing them out. If they're not 100%, they're going to die, so that's one big thing. Going back to the red phase though, there was one important thing that I missed out there. The damage is severely increased, so you're either going to be using raid walls or different cooldowns, healer cooldowns, tank cooldowns. But what worked very well for us was pets. Non-combat pets, combat pets all share the ability to soak the damage. So we had our warlock bring his pet back. I put my pet on passive so he was in the group and could soak, and we have the mage summarize mirror images. That way when someone moves out for consuming flames, you've still got 11 or 12 targets to soak the damage. Needless to say, as we move into green phase, it's extremely important that you have all AoE on them and burn the aberrations down. That must be clean as you go into the next rotation. So we're pretty much halfway there now. We've done one rotation. We're just finishing off the aberrations. Maloriak's at roughly 50%. So I'll be looking at going to the next black phase. I mean, a tick of Arcane Storm got off there. 1 tick's not so bad, but more than 1 tick and you're probably going to wipe. Okay, so we're going into another dark phase now. It's rinse and repeat here, just like before. We need to be slowing the aberrations for the off tank as well, because the off tank's got a lot of work to do in this. So as you can see, our raids spread out, ready for the dark phase. Again, make sure that you don't over aggro the vile swills. Anyone with a misdirect or a rogue of a tricks can assist the off tank initially, then hold off for a few seconds like I said before opening up full DPS on them. And again, it's a rinse and repeat. Keep moving out of the dark sludge at all times. You want to be helping your healers out as much as possible. They're going to be stressed enough as it is. They can do without any sort of silly raid damage that is easily negated by your movement. There's also a healing debuff that goes on the tank, so that needs to be managed as well. I would suggest that you read alternative strategy guides on this as well. It's quite important to know the health of certain adds and the cast times of some of the abilities, so you can plan prior to going in. It's so important to pick a composition that's going to be correct for this. I used 2 tanks, 3 healers, 4 range DPS and 1 melee DPS. I mean, this fight really doesn't favour melee at all. You want to be as ranged heavy as you can possibly be and using the best AoE classes that you can. Appreciate that in 10-man guilds the classes are not always available, but you really need to do the best with whatever you do have available. Again, we're in the blue phase. Make sure people are healed up to 100% before you break them out with the flash freeze. And then break them out immediately. Now, we're sort of gearing up for phase 3 here. We've got a red vial phase, and then we're going to have a green vial phase to go through. We want Maloriak at around about 26% as we're moving into the green phase, so any excess damage doesn't push him through too early. But then it's pretty manic. We want to be getting the aberrations down. As soon as you move into phase 2, it's going to be a real hard burn against healers mana. Now, when we move into phase 2, the tank needs to kite Maloriak around the outside perimeter of the room, but not behind the cauldron. I want you to imagine that there's a brick wall around the cauldron, so as you kite him around the outside of the room, come in front of the cauldron. Do not go behind the cauldron. This will wipe your raid. Now, the reason that the tank kites Maloriak around the outside of the room is for the jets. He does these flame jets which are going to kill people, and you can control where they're going to be by how you kite him around. So the off tank will be kiting him around the outside. I mean, also the off tank doesn't need help with slows in this phase because it's going to take away real vital DPS away from Maloriak. It's a hard burn. On top of that, he does have a debuff where he can heal himself, and this needs to be dispelled. So the key to phase 2 is dispels, high DPS and raid awareness. You mustn't be standing in any of the magma jets or getting hit by any of the orbs. I think there's a few more orbs in heroic mode, but they're going to cause massive raid wide damage and stress the healers out that are already stressed. So as you can see, we're doing as much DPS as we possibly can in this phase, looking out for orbs, and you can see what I meant about kiting Maloriak around the outside of the room to place the flame jets in the correct place and away from the general raid. The general raid needs to be doing everything it can to get Maloriak down, and obviously avoiding the orbs. Like I said, they will migrate towards you, so just be aware of that. Dispels really are the key. We had a couple of heartbreaking attempts where we get 10 people through and get to around about 15% and get no further because our dispellers have died, and then it just keeps healing. If you can keep them alive and you can keep them dispelled, it should be a pretty easy down. So as you can see, we're just pushing in sub 10% here. I've still got everyone alive, so dispels are still going out. Probably will have a few people start to drop at this point, but again, your heart should start pumping, you should be DPSing, and it should be a real good encounter for you and your guild to get down. Needless to say, you'll have a few wipes, but that will make it all the more fun when you actually get his head on the block. Well, I've been Selassie, and thank you for your time today. I've hoped you enjoyed this video, and I hope your guild enjoyed this encounter as much as we did.